The Jeff Gabriel Connection.
Hi, Gayla. Hi, Thelma. Thanks for joining me today and welcome to the Jeff Gabriel Connection. Today we have Gayle Jennings O'Byrne and her mom, Thelma Walls Bataille, actually. I'm so glad that you guys are both with us here this afternoon. Both of you have made such an incredible impact, not only on your respective life and endeavors, but upon each other as well. Thelma, through your life as a mother and career as a woman whose experiences are so unique, a woman who desegregated a white high school and worked in tech way ahead of your time, working on fighter jets and the DC-10, I believe, and raised Gayla to be such a productive, incredible, and intensely contributing person in a very diverse community. And Gayla, you are a venture capitalist who started the WOCStar Fund, Woman of Color. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's called WOCStar because we think all women are rock stars.
That's awesome. And it's an early stage investment fund that invests in tech companies led by women of color. And I just think that is awesome. And I congratulate you for your efforts and your continued efforts on that. I have actually, my first question is for your mom, believe it or not, for Thelma.
Please.
Thelma, how in such a challenging time, how were you able to make such leaps and accomplishments in your career? I mean, it was a very challenging time for women of color. Can you maybe fill us in a little bit, give us a little color on that?
Well, I have to give a lot of credit to my parents. Growing up, my father always taught us, education is the key to being what you want to be, get an education. So we did. And, in the 60s, growing up, when you finished high school, most of my classmates got married, but I knew I was going to college. My older sister set the path. She went, and the rest of us followed. We all went to college after high school. And I don't know, I just enjoyed mathematics. It was really an easy chore for me. And it was solving problems. And when you got the answer, you knew it's like, eureka, I got it. So that's what I excelled in. And that's what I wanted to study when I went to school.
Was that rare though? You'll have to excuse my ignorance. For women of color at that time, was that extremely unique for you and your family and what you were doing?
Yes, it was very unique. I went to the University of Missouri in Columbia to get my undergraduate school degree. And there was very few African-American students there. I mean, you could count them, you saw one on the campus, you really said hello because there were very few of us. So it was very new, not just for African-American women to be in college, at the university, but just for African-Americans. And the sad part, and this is part that really bothered me, and it's probably true even today. Yeah, of the, let's say there were 100 students that entered the freshman class. By the end of the first semester, I would say 80% of them had dropped out, African-American students. Wow. So getting in and staying there was the big challenge. And I was determined, I'm here, I'm going to make it. And surprisingly, my freshman year, I majored in electrical engineering. And I had 15 hours, 3 5-hour courses. That means I went every day. One was calculus, chemistry, and physics. And then there was labs to go with those. It's the first time I ever got a C in my life in all those classes.
Well, I got to tell you, it's an incredible story, an incredible experience you probably had, and an incredible challenge to keep up to it in such a tough time, for women of color. And it's very, very inspiring. Gayla, could you share what is the most prolific and positive impact your mom had on you growing up, which drove you to the success that you have in your career today? What did she like bestow upon you that seems to be most important and ingrained in your memory?
I think it was this sense that my success was my doing. And so I didn't need to compare myself to other people, other men, other women, but what I had to do was compare myself to what was my very best. And so even today when I'm working or I'm doing something, there's always this sense of, did I give it my best? Not someone else's best, but my best. And that I got from my mother. The other thing I got from her was no one died from the word no. And even as a little kid, she would say that to me, and she'd say, tell me where it happened, where you've seen that. And I'd go and get the newspaper and I'd read the obituaries. And I was like, no one's died from the word no today. And I was always looking. So it also gave me this courage, if you will, to be okay to ask and not worry about whether or not I got a yes or a no.
Well, I have to interject and say that one of my biggest fears growing up, and I'm also an entrepreneur, I also have businesses as well, but I'm a late bloomer. I started late in life with some of my businesses, and one of the biggest problems for me was whether or not people were going to say no. So it's very prolific that you say that, and very, it's true to heart for me to hear that from you. Yeah. It's very, very interesting. It's a really great note from your mom that you picked up. I think it's awesome. Thelma, you must be really, really proud of your daughter. How do you feel now that your daughter is grown up and she's doing all these incredible, amazing things and have developed this fund and she's working with other women to try and help them along? It must make you feel amazing.
It does. And I am so proud of her. And it warms my heart to know that she's not selfish in what she's doing. She's trying to do for others. And if you know the ups and downs that she's gone through, and I've gone through them with her, the person says, Gayle, you are doing what you're supposed to be, And one of my favorite sayings I read in a book someplace, I says, we dream, but it's God's plan. So you are following the plan that is laid out for you. And I'm just so excited and proud to see her doing what she's doing and having the success that she's doing, and also getting the recognition for what she's doing. It's not easy. I can understand it. So I'm more than proud.
Well, that's amazing. And Gayle, I've read a lot about you. I've researched a little bit before we spoke today, and I've watched a number of videos and interviews of you, and you speak very well. You're obviously a very happy, passionate person, about what you do. Can you tell me a little bit today about where you are with the WOC Fund or the WOCStar Fund and where it's going? Any sort of, current updates you could share with us?
Yeah, happy to. So the WOCStar Fund is an early stage fund that invests in women of color and diverse inclusive teams. And I'm happy to say that we have onboarded investors. And with those investors, we've been making investments into companies. And so right now we have 9 companies in our portfolio. And so we are still onboarding investors. So if there are people listening who want to be a part of this, get in touch with us. And we're also still investing. So if you're an entrepreneur and you have women in leadership, women of color, rock stars in leadership at your startup, reach out to us as well, because we are investing. Now, we focus on tech companies, tech forward companies, and those are companies in the consumer and consumption space, in the media space. So that could be media, that could be gaming, that could be AI, virtual reality, a lot of data, content companies. And then we have companies in the sustainability space. So we have one that's part of making smart cities, Internet of Things. We have another that is in the agricultural tech business, and we have another in food tech. But here's the really exciting part of what's happening right now. We've been in business a year. We've already got companies that are on a pathway to exits. What that means is that the people that invested in them, we're going to be able to give them great returns pretty soon. So if you're an investor, right, you're always looking to increase your returns, right? You want low risk, but you want high returns, high rewards. We're a new fund, but yet we're going to be starting to return capital to investors. So it's very exciting.
That's very, very fast. I've raised money before, and it's a very, very daunting task. I guess my question is that how did you find raising money for your fund, or how do you find it getting investors for the women that you back with your fund? the flow of capital. Has it been difficult for you? Can you share some of the challenges, how that's been? Because it was not easy. It's not easy for me.
It's not easy. I think there's still a discrepancy between the headlines, particularly that came out after last summer and Black Lives Matter and George Floyd. There's a lot of headlines of people committing to diversity and inclusion. Unfortunately, a lot of those dollars look like corporate sponsorships. They look like marketing dollars for conferences and advertising. For financial firms, a lot of that's making loans and mortgages available to diverse people and populations. But what we're really calling on and what we're putting out there as a call to action for people is to invest in funds like ours that are by people of color who are investing in people of color. No one knows my sisterhood better than, guess what, me and my team. And so if you're someone who invests and is looking for where the next new technology is coming from, you would do better allowing me to make those investments because I know that population and those founders better than you would.
Right.
And here's the other side of this. When you asked about how it is raising capital, the thing that I'm really liking is that we're moving away from people seeing this as a diversity or an inclusion play, and they're seeing it as really smart investing. Because here's what you have. We have right now a female arbitrage moment. What do I mean by that? I mean, buy low in places where people are not looking and where you can exploit, leverage, and build and put out higher value in another marketplace. So the population, my sisterhood, has been somewhat unnoticed by the larger segments of Silicon Valley, Wall Street, tech investing. But that's okay because that spells opportunity and returns and profit for us and our investors. So it's beautiful to see the conversation is changing and that the investors that are coming on are because they want to have outsized returns based on these founders and these arbitrage situations around technology.
That sounds great. Are you the collection of businesses that you're investing in this pool? Are the investors investing across the board in all the different companies that you decide to work with, or are the investors in your fund actually picking and choosing the individual companies that you present to them? Is it a collective ROI or is it individual?
So it is a traditional venture capital fund in that they invest in the WOCStar Fund. And then we, as the managers of the WOCStar Fund, invest on behalf of our investors. So they don't get to see individual deals. They trust us. Again, we know best our sisterhood. So they trust us to make those investments. And people that are trusting us are like Motley Fool Ventures. We've got a lot of successful businessmen and women. We've got family offices, ultra high net worth individuals. We are in conversations with some banks that I cannot mention just yet, but I think everyone's probably got one of those bank credit cards in their wallet. And so they'll be investing along with some of them. But yeah, we make the decisions.
It's a great story. It's a great opportunity. And I'm sure there's some wonderful talent that you are finding. Can you give us an example without naming any of the businesses that you're investing in, just one or two examples of what the businesses do, just to give me an idea?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the companies is taking plastic out of the grocery process. So think about what your milkman did back in the day. He would drop off your groceries and he would drop off your milk in a glass bottle. And when you finish, you would put the glass bottle back out there. And then the next time he would pick it up when he dropped off your milk.
I remember.
Exactly, right? Well, she's doing that for groceries. So during COVID, right, we were all getting groceries delivered, right? We weren't going out to the grocery store as much. They're having your groceries delivered in glass bottles. So 2,000 products are now available to you. So it's taking all of that plastic that we would have as part of the groceries. And guess what? Millennials love this, right? They want good quality food. They want it locally sourced. They don't want to add more plastic and paper to society, and they don't want to spend a lot. And they can get all three of those with this company called Zero Grocery. They're on the West Coast.
I'm sorry, my wife would love you because we have a separate bin in the house to take the plastic, and it has to go over to Target where you could dispose of plastic in the recycle bin. So she loves dogs, and she loves removing plastic, and she walks on the beach. She picks up anything that has to do with plastic.
I like her. She sounds like a keeper.
Yeah, she's a tech girl, and you know, we definitely need to get offline because I've raised money for my businesses, and I would like to hear about what you're doing, how you're raising the money, what the structure is, and I have a lot of contacts as well, and would love to speak to you offline about it. Can you tell me about?
Let me tell you this. How about this? So you asked early on about how my mom felt about me doing this. I should tell you that for me, this is amplifying the legacy that she and other women of color started. So when you think about those women in the movie Hidden Figures, my mom was very much that, right? They were at NASA working on the space shuttle program, right? The Apollo program. Thelma was doing that for the F-15 fighter plane. Now that plane and the work that she did, the computational work she did, won for America military the contract by which America finally had air superiority in its military force. These contributions by women of color have been huge, but so unrecognized.
Well, you must have been excited. You must have been excited when the movie Hidden Figures came out, because I watched that movie and I was just utterly amazed. I didn't know that story.
Yeah, and it was beautiful because we got to watch it together.
It was kind of interesting because, you know, Gayle and I saw it together, like she said. And it's like, Gayle, that's my story. I says, I was like those women, you know, a few Black women's in an auditorium, a white man's working on these computations. And when they talk about Fortran, I says, oh gosh, that was my language.
Were you doing software for designing fabrication of the plane, or avionics, or where was the software?
Fabrication of the plane. Yeah, I was with McDonnell Douglas at the time. And they were the one who built the F-15. Yeah.
Wow. I hope I can be as much as an example for my 4-year-old little boy.
Yeah. Oh, you are.
You are. You are. You don't even know it, but you are. And here's the other thing. There's so many beautiful examples in the universe right now, and we just don't know this, right? So here's a couple examples of the contribution of women of color, specifically Black women of color, around technology and innovation. Caller ID on your phone, call waiting, CCTV, security cameras, right? The fiber optics that's allowing us to have this podcast and this video and this data transmitting, right? This audio and video. And then that little button you press on the plane to get the flight attendant's attention. All were contributions by Black women.
Amazing. Well,
that's
you guys,
what we're investing in.
And you're also creating the stage and the awareness for people to know, so people can, you know, stop making certain types of judgments or not recognize what people of color or women of color are contributing. And I think it's awesome. I saw a video and interview when you mentioned that. I did not know that. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. What are some of the challenges of the women that you're investing in? I mean, they must have had to reach a certain level to be able to start getting into conversations with you, but their challenges to reach that point must have been poignant. Did you have maybe one little story about a woman that really moved you, that you've invested in?
Yeah, I think I'll tell about the woman who we haven't invested in, but she's the reason why I do this in many ways as well. I was at JP Morgan having a great career, and I got a call from her about her worry about making payroll. And she was this Harvard grad, Harvard MBA. She was on her second IT company and was hot area fintech. And yet she couldn't get the capital and was worried about payroll. And that was this aha moment for me of, here she's done everything that the American playbook tells you to do, right? To be successful in America, to be successful in society. And yet we as a financial market, we as society have not kept up our end of the promise and the deal, right? The American deal. And so I said, I got to work on that. I've got to work on that.
Well, you know, part of raising money is the network and the platform that you're providing. When I went out and raised money and I had businesses and good ideas and I had abilities, you know, you still need to go out and sell it. And you still need a network of people that know you and a network of people that know people that have access to capital and money. And it sounds like you are, you know, providing that platform for these women, and it's incredible. You must have
but you know, I also have realized that there are boundaries or limits to my access and my network. And so we have raised 10 million. We're on a sight line to 20, but we want to get to 50. And so I've been having conversations with my board and some of our allies. And I said, you know what, out of my Rolodex, I've sort of hit the boundaries, right? And so I need to tap into your networks and your relationships. So I'm having this self-reflection of just how far my access goes. And now I'm raising my hand and asking for help, which I think is okay to do, right? We have to be okay. Back to where we started, right? Asking for help, and maybe you get a yes, maybe you get a no. But
you know, when I was raising money for my business, that's how I did it. I got 2 or 3 champions that believed in me, they knew me, they trusted me, and then they went out with their tentacles and their array, and it was a little bit of a butterfly effect. And I think what you're doing is incredible, and it's going to be like a butterfly effect. It's going to create so many ripples in the water. It's going to move so many boats, and these women are going to be on these boats, and they're going to really just, I mean, they're going to sail. It's totally awesome. And I definitely want to talk to you. And I was asking before, there must be a lot of women coming to you now for assistance and help now that, you know, people know about the WOCStar Fund. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I mean, listen, women make up half the population or 49% of the population, but women are also very entrepreneurial. Before COVID, there was a report by American Express called State of Women Businesses. And women of color were the fastest population of entrepreneurs. So before COVID, right, 2019, there was about 700 to 800 companies a day being started by women of color.
Wow.
So very entrepreneurial by nature. But here's the other side of it. You know, well, there's a lot of shows on TV right now that make entrepreneurialism look very sexy.
It's not.
It's not. It's not. It's right. Like, this is not sexy. This is not cute. This isn't cute. But here's what it is. It's problem solving. And that's what women do, right? They see problems and they go, have I got a solution for that? That's the kind of people we invest in. Who's solving problems and who's got the A team to do it?
I totally feel and hear you, because when you mentioned about being an entrepreneur not being sexy, it's not. And the one thing I had to figure out that if people are going to listen, and they will listen, and being an entrepreneur is about solving huge obstacles and moving huge walls. And the people that succeed, they take those steps every day. And there were so many times that I've wanted to give up in my businesses. I was down low on money. I couldn't make cash flow. I needed to raise more capital. I wanted to go home and cry. My wife's like, "What's wrong?" I said, "Oh, not good." But
that's the journey, right? That's the journey we sign up for. Yeah, it's crazy. Not for the faint at heart. But
yeah,
we can have those bad days. And listen, she gets the call when those bad days happen for me.
I know.
And I'm happy to get those. I'm here to support it in every way.
And Jeff, something we didn't tell you is this is our first time seeing each other in person since COVID started.
Amazing. Well, you guys look great. I was going to lead into the other question about, how difficult being an entrepreneur is, but, we both answered that. I think, what advice would you give women, especially because your fund's about women of color, what advice would be the main piece of advice you'd give them, on their journey towards not just starting a business, but trying to raise capital? And obviously, if they hear this, they might even reach out to you.
Yeah. Well, so this advice is universal. First is be bold and big in your ask and the problem you're solving. Most times when people ask for things, they ask too small. So when we talk to people, we say, hey, how much are you raising? And they'll give a number and they'll say, how much are you looking for from us? And I stop them before they answer. And I say, double the number and tell me what that feels like. And it's interesting. Some people are really uncomfortable doubling that number. And that's a real tell for us too, right? Like, how comfortable are you? Because if you've got a big vision, you better get real comfortable asking for some big dollars to make that happen, right? I don't want to see you back here in 6 months asking again, right? I want you to get the sufficient amount. That's the advice I would give.
That's amazing advice. And again, I just got to share that's the one thing, that I always felt uncomfortable about. And my CFO would say to me, you need to ask for more money, man. That's not enough. You don't want to go back to the well twice. And I want to reiterate something that I think is really poignant, something that you brought up, and through our conversation, we found that would-be entrepreneurs, people that want to raise money, I think the difference between people that succeed and don't succeed are the people that can continue to get knocked down and get back up every day and try and maneuver around the obstacles. I think that is, besides the education, besides the experience, besides the desire, the passion, you gotta be able to withstand the obstacles just inbound every day, every week.
Every day.
As a young person, as a young entrepreneur, but that was the hardest thing for me. I'm going to build it and all my clients are going to come and they're going to love me and I'm going to make a lot of money. But it was just a problem day after day after day. That's and I think working with the young women, it sounds like, I know you were at JP Morgan and you must have had an incredible experience there in that diverse, environment, but I'm sure that you're going to be able to assist and to really give them. I can hear your passion and you really know what you're doing.
I call us builder capitalists and a venture capital structure. So we are in there with them, making sure they're building to success, right? I need them to be successful. This is fund one. We have to show the world that this is a really smart place to invest. I have to show that female arbitrage is real and profitable. So you're absolutely right. We're in there building with them and making sure they're successful. But here's the two other pieces of advice that we give. And Mom, I think will be okay. I always say to them, I say, fess up to your F-ups. Now, she and I both have a bit of a potty mouth, so that was the clean version of it. But I always say,
it's good with me. It's good with me.
Fess up to your F-ups, right?
You know what?
That's part of what you're saying. You're going to get knocked down. You're not going to be right all the time. You're going to do something wrong. So fess up, laugh about it, dust it off, cry about it,
keep going,
and keep going. Exactly.
You know what? That is also really important because a lot of people do not want to admit their mistakes, and they do not want to admit their mistakes in front of their employees. And doing that makes the whole group better and a little bit more real. Owning mistakes is huge. I want to just read, before we finish up here in a few minutes, I'm going to redirect the conversation and I'm going to redirect it back to Thelma because I've been waiting to ask this question of her all day because I was excited about your relationship. Thelma.
Yes.
I have a 4-year-old little boy and I think I'm being a good dad. I'm doing my best. Sure. I would love to hear your advice to me as a father to my little boy. What do you what's the best, what one piece of advice would you give me? I don't know if I'm doing it or not. I would like to hear what you have to say.
Well, there's two things. And the first one is to listen and to talk to your kids. And you have to start early. I remember when my kids were growing up, and particularly when I got to that teenage stage, people says, why do you have such a good relationship? I have 3. Gayle and another daughter and a son. It's like, why do you have such a good relationship? I says, because I communicate with them and I encourage them to talk about themselves. We always had this family time and conversation. What was your day like? What was your day like? And the other thing is to always let them know that you got their back. You support them. I was a working mother in the 70s, and that was unheard of. And I would tell all my friends, and I tell them, you know, I play multiple roles. When I'm home, I'm a mother. When I'm at work, I am a professional. And people didn't realize, I worked with a lot of people, they didn't realize I had kids. It's like, you have children? It's like, who would ever thought? I said, yeah. I said, I am a soccer mom with a Volvo station wagon, and I got to get home and take my son to soccer practice or baseball. Right. So even though I worked, they knew I was there for them. Their father was there for them. And we were involved in whatever they were doing. And be it ballet dancing, gymnastics, soccer like Gayle was in, swimming like she was in. We were there supporting them. We were their champion at every game. So that's other advice. Listen to them, talk to them, so that when they get older and there's a problem, you will be their first source to come to for advice rather than going to their friends who will give them the wrong advice. And that starts very early. And
well, as I think it's amazing advice. As you can tell, I like to talk to people. So I'm always talking to my son. And my wife says he doesn't understand yet. And I say, but he will, ever since I was crawling on the ground with him. But that's amazing advice. And you're right, to be able to come home, to be able to talk to you, to not live in, you know, to not be fearful of talking to the parents. And you know what, I was a little nervous to talk to you guys today because, you know, I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but it's really amazing to know you, to meet you. Gayle, I hope to meet you actually in person. I'm really interested in what you're doing.
Yeah.
I have an incredible.
We both gotten our shots, so.
All right. All right.
But the one thing I'll add about the talking is I think what my mom also did was she explained when she was disappointed in something we had done. So there wasn't a lot of like shelling, yelling, go to your room, right? She would walk you through like, I'm really disappointed at why you didn't come home by curfew. We had set that up together. I had agreed to it. You had committed to it. This was a deal between us, and you didn't keep and honor your end of it. You don't want to be that person in life. You want your word to count for something, right? Like she would walk us through that. And I think that was a really big part of the communication as well. So I just want to add that bit too.
Well, that's amazing. It's an amazing note. I'm going to take that advice to heart. I agree with you. And I think it's going to have a positive benefit on me and my son. And on that note, I'm going to say it's just an amazing pleasure.
For your 4-year-old son.
Please keep it going.
Yeah, get him in the sports. Sports is the one activity that teach kids to fail early. You're not going to always be the best player, the best pitcher, the best anything. You're going to fail. There's going to always be somebody better than you, but you're going to get up and go to that and go to the next game, and you're going to learn to play with a team.
Team sports.
Yeah. And how to fail.
I was on teams as a little boy, and you're right, it was a great experience. I'm just trying to figure out, he's just getting to that age right now. So
T-ball.
Right. T-ball. tomorrow I'm going to do it. It's just as hard as being an entrepreneur. Yeah. Listen, it was great talking to you guys. Gayle, I'm going to have Syra reach out to you.
I would love that.
I'd love to talk to you offline. And I think when you find out about some of my businesses and some of my network, maybe there can be some cross-pollination and we can talk. I would love to try and help.
That.
I really
would love that. So, I would love that. And we're going to make that happen. And thank you for this opportunity to share our story together with you and your audience. Your audience is amazing. And so just to be a part of your community is really honoring, and feel really grateful. So thank you.
Well, guess you're welcome. And guess what? It made my weekend. Thank you.
It made our weekend.
I
too. Thank you.
All right. See you later. Thanks, guys. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.